Commercial auto policy. Man, for me, this was a daunting task. I know for a lot of people, it is a rate limiting step. And, I'd like to share some things, hopefully, so, if you're somebody who has aspirations of driving a truck one day and are still in the planning phases, hopefully this helps you. And hey, if you're already in a truck and you're getting ready to come up on your first year renewal, hopefully I have something in here for you too. So let's get after it. So you get your equipment, you go out, you find a commercial auto policy, you make a payment on that. That company is then going to file your MCS 90 with the FMCSA, and you'd feel like, hey, I'm ready to go to work. At least that's how I thought the process would work. What I didn't see coming and what I was unaware of, and kind of the purpose for making this video is to explain the process. That is all correct. You're still responsible for going out and getting the auto policy. Your insurance company is going to file that MCS 90, but then they're also going to provide certificates to RMIS. RMIS is kind of like the overseer of your insurance and your certificates. Basically, think of them as like a company whose role it is to protect the brokers from bad carriers out there who either have inadequate coverage or allow their coverage to lapse. They're the ones reporting the information to your Uber Freights, to your Amazons, people like that. You'd like to think that like you could go to these, individual brokers and say, hey, look, I have insurance. They won't accept it from you. They'll only accept it from RMIS. And so, you can imagine the process with, these four entities, you being the carrier, your insurance, RMIS, and the broker. It really becomes kind of like, it's so compartmentalized. It becomes like the game of telephone when you were a kid, except everybody's on drugs. And everybody's looking at this saying like, okay, well look, we're only responsible for our part. So your insurance company is going to say, hey look, we're only responsible for providing proof of coverage and your certificates to RMIS. RMIS is going to say, okay, great, we're only going to look at the certificates that are sent over, but keep in mind, and this is going to play into this later, keep in mind they're also only willing to look at the most recent information. They're not willing to go back and look at the whole story. They're only looking at what they received that day, and they act upon that. And then you've got the brokers sitting there saying, okay, we're not responsible for anything else. We're only responsible for the information that we receive by or from RMIS. So it's so compartmentalized, it's so convoluted that there are a couple pitfalls in there. And keep in mind, RMIS is monitoring all your insurance. I know a lot of people, when they get into this, they just focus on that commercial auto liability policy, which is, and for me, historically, my cargo insurance has been built into that. So, God forbid I drive my truck into a school bus of kids and the merchandise in the back of my truck gets damaged. That's what that policy is covering, and RMIS is monitoring that. They're also monitoring your general liability insurance, which is basically like, say that school bus full of kids pulls up to my truck. Now my truck's parked, I'm at home, I'm nowhere near my truck, but the kids get out of the bus, start playing on my truck. One of them falls, breaks their arm. That's what that insurance covers. So where can this all go wrong? Well, let's go back to 5 days ago. My commercial auto liability, the old one, end of year one, ended on April 21st. My new policy started at midnight on April 22nd. Now that's all good. The insurance company, we're talking about what everybody's responsible for. The insurance company I was ending coverage with is required by law to send out a notice of cancellation. Now they sent this out middle April. That's fine. Middle April, they're sending out a letter to RMIS and to the FMCSA saying, hey, effective April 21st, this person's no longer going to be insured with us. Well, that's fine. I still had coverage. I'm still in compliance. They then later received the message or a certificate in the filing from my new insurance saying, not to worry, as of April 22nd at midnight, we're taking over for him. This is his policy. Everything's good. Still in compliance. Here's where I messed up, and I'm kicking myself for this. I had canceled everything with my former insurance company. Did a phone call, had to put it in writing, did everything. I didn't cancel the auto payment. Now, I would think common sense would say, if I'm canceling the policy with you, you're no longer authorized to charge me. That's not how they work. They're like, well, no, you needed to cancel both. I didn't know that, and that's why I'm making this video to share with you. Be sure and cancel everything with your former insurance. Here's what happened. About April, I think it was Monday, I think it was like the 24th. Yeah, 24th, old insurance, no longer valid and everything, because they had the auto payment thing from me, realized, hey, this guy's 2 days late on making his payment. Let's go ahead and charge him again. Okay. They charge it, the charge goes through, it's set up to a credit card to auto pay, And now they're like, oh, the charge went through, we must be his new insurance. They do a new filing with RMIS and with the FMCSA saying, hey, we're back in business, we're covering him again. Well, because RMIS didn't have any certificates from them, certificates are basically saying RMIS is listed as like a covered entity on my insurance plan. Because they didn't have any certificates on file for them, RMIS is like, wait a minute, this null and voids his current policy. This must be the right information. But because they didn't have certificates, now all of a sudden with the brokers, I'm out of compliance. How does that affect me? Okay. They're now saying, let's restrict his load board access, and any loads that he has booked coming up here in the near future, next 24 to 36 hours, let's reject those because he's out of compliance. I never was out of compliance. Worst case scenario, and I will get a refund from the old insurance, but worst case scenario, I had 2 commercial auto policies, not just one, but the old original one was still active. And this is where it's annoying to me with like RMIS, where it's like, hey, won't you go back and look at the whole picture? If they'd looked at the whole picture, they would have seen that, the old insurance was ended, the new insurance started, and there was no change with the new insurance. It was just the old insurance company stepping in saying, hey, we got his payment, we must be his insurance company. And, it kind of kills me that, that a little mistake like this, forgetting to cancel the auto payment, cost me so much. Ended up, Amazon automatically rejected a load, which will adversely affect my performance score. I have more content on that. I don't want to go too far in the weeds on that, but it just, it's one of those things of, I work so hard to keep that score perfect, and to have it now moved from there because of something that absolutely was not my fault, but, that I'll never do again. But anyway, just, my take-home message on this, when it is time to renew, be sure and cancel everything, and that includes the auto payment. Those auto payments are super convenient when you don't have to worry about making that payment each month, but when it comes to something like this, and they step up and say, hey, we're still his insurance company, when they're not, and it messes up all my filings, that's a problem. And, and then on top of that, and this I kind of saw coming, because they had reinstated that old policy, I knew that they were then going to have to file a notice of cancellation. And sure enough, today, 2 days later, Wednesday the 26th, I now lose load board access again because RMIS has received a letter of cancellation from my old policy, which should have been canceled, but, hey, it's where we're at. So fortunately, I saw this coming. I didn't book any loads, didn't have any loads auto-rejected. More stuff to come, but as always, I hope this video serves you well. I appreciate you for watching. Take care.